And what Storms did is that he graphed sexuality. Raise your hand if you have ever drawn a graph. What's this axis usually called? Y. And this one? So I'm going to make a really bad joke. I apologize in advance. So he kind of graphed XX attraction and XY attraction. I said it was bad. And it is. But it's kind of good too. So what he graphed was heteroerotic attraction and homoerotic attraction. Attraction to your own sex or gender, attraction to different than your own. And there are some things I actually really like about this map. There are some things this map does that Kinsey and Klein, things that Kinsey and Klein don't do. One is that it makes attraction to, and I'm going to stay in this frame for a minute, attraction to different gender and attraction to same gender, it makes them each independent variables. So instead of asking you, what percentage are you, he asks you, how attracted are you to this category of people? How attracted are you to that kind of category of people? And what that does is it makes them independent of each other. Raise your hand if you have ever heard anyone say, it's not possible to be attracted to men and women both. A lot of people believe that. That is a very, very commonly held belief. And somehow, I have this idea in my head that everyone, the idea underneath that is everyone at birth gets one dose of sexuality. You get one dose of attraction. And if you use it up being attracted to someone of one gender, then there's nothing left. And if you say you're attracted to someone of a different gender, obviously you're just lying or something, or you're just deceiving yourself, or you're just confused, right? But the fact is, for me, that's as strange a belief as saying, it's not possible to like chocolate ice cream and vanilla ice cream. Is that possible? They're independent of each other. Chocolate ice cream is one thing, vanilla ice cream is another thing. Some people like one, some people like the other. I'd say most people like both. Maybe they're different. Maybe some people like chocolate more, some like vanilla more, some like them both. Some like them both together. If it's chocolate vanilla swirl, Neapolitan ice cream, whatever. So I really feel like that's that analogy, like that's how I experience it. They're not things that are mutually exclusive, they're things that are separate things. And it is in fact possible to like both flavors of gender. Yeah, some people are just smiling, I like that. So another thing that I really like about the Storm sexuality axis is that it takes into account that not every single person is the same amount of sexual. Because you could be really high for one and not at all on the other, or really high on both, or moderate on both, or you could also be right here, have no attraction to anyone. And so one thing I really like about this map is that it takes into account that we are all different amounts of sexual. It also has a visual space where you can actually see asexuality. Because one of the growing identities among young people, especially in the United States, is asexual identity. There are a lot of people who are identifying as asexual, and you can actually see asexuality here. There are some people who are low on this particular map, yes? And where would asexuality show up on Kinsey? I mean, it could actually be anywhere, but it's not obvious that it's there. This map doesn't help us see that this thing exists. And same thing with Klein. By the way, this is my Klein complicated map. It's like a little fan. With Klein, too, you really can't see asexuality. You can't see that it exists. But with Storms, one of the functions of Storms is that it actually shows that we're all different. Raise your hand if you know somebody who lives and breathes for sex, for whom sex is really important in their life. If you know somebody, I said, so don't worry. And raise your hand if you know somebody who's just not interested at all. So I really believe that there are people at both of those edges, and there are people all across the continuum. I also believe that as we go through our life, we may move up and down. Things happen in our life that make us more or less interested in sex, that make us feel and experience ourselves as more or less sexual. Just a quick question, what are some things in your life that could make your sexuality go up higher? What are some things, life events, or things that could happen?
A new relationship.
Brand new relationship. Yes. Yes, definitely. What else? Puberty. Puberty, yes. What else? Supplements, so you could, yeah, there are things that you could take to enhance your sexuality up. Time. Explain that one. Explain that one.
Like when kids are all little, you're chasing them, you're exhausted.
Do you have or not?
Opportunity, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is an important question. If you ask the parents of a 3-month-old infant, if you ask the parents of a 3-month-old infant whether they would rather have a wild night of whoopee or get 8 hours of completely uninterrupted sleep, what do you think they would choose? Raise your hand if you're an actual parent in this room. Is that correct?
Yes.
I've only had one person say sex over sleep to that question, and that was a guy. But I think that really, that's something that can just, like, you're just way too busy, you're way too tired. It is just not top of the list for periods of your life. I also think that things like illness and trauma are all things that can have negative impacts on your sexuality. Having a negative view of sexuality, thinking that sexuality is something shameful that must be suppressed, is something that can make you push your sexuality down. Thinking that sexuality is something beautiful that should be celebrated is something that could enhance your sexuality and allow you to let it fly, right? So I think that there are lots of different factors, and over the course of our lives, I think our sexualities probably, for most of us, go up and down. I don't think it's necessarily a fixed thing that's always the same. I really believe that we change. So that's just one of the other ways that we're complicated, is how you would answer that question of how sexual you are will probably be different at different points in your life.